The worst part about being mistaken for the help wasn't the assumption itself. Simone had experienced that particular indignity before. The worst part was that it happened while she was holding her sister's wedding dress. "Excuse me," the man said, not looking up from his phone. "This needs to be steamed again. There's a wrinkle near the hem." Simone stood in the hallway of the Victorian mansion, the blush-colored bridesmaid dress draped carefully over her arm. Maya's backup option that needed alterations. She'd just come from the bridal suite, headed to her own room to change for the rehearsal dinner. "Welcome to Emotional Voyage. I'm so glad you're here to share this journey with me. If this content resonates with you, please hit the like button and subscribe. Your support helps me create even deeper, more meaningful videos for our community. Let's navigate these emotions together." The man was tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair going silver at the temples. His navy suit probably cost more than her car payment. He still hadn't looked at her face. "I'm not. And the groom's party needs fresh towels in the West Wing. Someone spilled champagne." He gestured vaguely down the hall, fingers still scrolling. Something hot and familiar twisted in Simone's chest. She could correct him. Should correct him. But 34 years of navigating rooms where she was the only face like hers had taught her something about men like this. Wealthy, distracted, so certain of their place in the world that they never questioned their assumptions. "I'll get right on that," she said, her voice flat. He nodded, finally glancing up. His eyes were pale blue, striking against his tanned face. They skimmed over her without really seeing her. "Good." The wedding coordinator said the staff here was excellent. Then he walked away, already back on his phone. Simone stood frozen for 3 heartbeats. Then she turned toward the bridal suite, hands shaking slightly as she hung the dress on Maya's door. Her sister appeared in the doorway, glowing despite the wedding weekend chaos. Was that Julian Whitmore? Oh my God, David's been trying to get him here for months. He literally flew in from Singapore for this. "That's wonderful," Simone said. "He's a billionaire. Tech acquisitions or something. David's firm has been courting his business forever." Maya squeezed her hand. "You okay? You look upset." "Just wedding jitters. For you, not me." Simone forced a smile. "Go. Your future mother-in-law is probably wondering where you are." She made it to her room before the anger really hit. Not rage. She'd learned long ago that rage in situations like this only hurt her, but a deep, tired frustration. At 34, with her own successful event planning business, a condo she'd bought herself, and a master's degree in hospitality management, she was still just invisible enough to be mistaken for staff. The rehearsal dinner was held in the mansion's garden, dripping with late spring wisteria and the kind of elegant simplicity that cost a fortune. Simone wore a coral dress that complemented her deep brown skin, her natural hair styled in soft curls that had taken an hour to perfect. She was laughing at something her cousin Tasha said when she felt eyes on her. Julian Whitmore stood across the garden, wine glass in hand, staring at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Recognition, maybe. Or horror. He started toward her table. "Simone." Maya appeared at her elbow, slightly breathless. "Julian just asked David who you were. I think he realized." "I'm going to get more wine," Simone said, standing quickly. She didn't run. Simone Chambers didn't run from uncomfortable situations. But she walked very purposefully toward the bar, hoping the crowd would swallow her. It didn't. "Excuse me." That same voice, but different now. Uncertain. "Miss, I need to. Could I speak with you for a moment?" Simone turned slowly. Up close, Julian Whitmore was even more imposing. Probably 38, 39, with the kind of presence that came from rooms full of people waiting for his approval. His suit fit perfectly. His watch was understated and probably worth 6 figures. "Can I help you?" she asked, echoing his earlier tone exactly. He winced. "I deserved that. Look, I just realized, upstairs earlier, you were holding a bridesmaid dress. You're in the wedding party. Maid of honor, actually." His jaw tightened. I'm sorry. I made an assumption I had no right to make, and I apologize. It was a good apology. Diplomatic. Probably crafted in the 30 seconds it took him to walk over here. Simone had received dozens like it over the years, from professors who'd assumed she was in the wrong classroom, from clients who'd asked to speak to her manager when she was the owner, from men at her gym who'd suggested she might be more comfortable at a different location. Apology noted, she said. I'd like to make it up to you somehow. That's not necessary. Please. He shifted his weight, looking genuinely uncomfortable. Good. At least let me buy you dinner. Tomorrow, after the wedding. Simone studied him. There was something almost boyish in his discomfort, at odds with the commanding presence and the obvious wealth. She should say no. She had no interest in pity dates from billionaires with assumption problems. But Maya's words echoed in her head. David's been trying to get him here for months. Fine, she said. One dinner. Tomorrow evening. Relief flooded his face. Thank you. I promise I'll. 7 o'clock. Pick me up here. She turned away, then glanced back. And Mr. Whitmore? Next time you need fresh towels, maybe look at people's faces before you make requests. She didn't wait for his response. Back at her table, Tasha was grinning. Girl, what was that about? Nothing, Simone said, taking a long drink of wine. Just a man learning a lesson. What assumption have you made about someone that you later regretted? Have you ever been misjudged based on appearance? Share your experience below. Julian couldn't concentrate during the ceremony, which was unfortunate since David had specifically asked him to be present for the family photos afterward. He kept finding Simone in the crowd. She stood at the altar in a dress the color of champagne, holding the bride's bouquet during the vows. The late afternoon light streaming through the mansion's French windows caught the gold undertones in her brown skin. She looked elegant, composed, completely out of his league, which was a strange thought for a man who regularly negotiated 9-figure deals. You're staring, his brother Ethan murmured beside him. Julian redirected his attention to the couple exchanging rings. But his mind wandered back to last night, to the moment he'd glanced up from his phone and realized the woman he'd dismissed as staff was actually. He'd built a tech empire on reading people, on understanding markets and anticipating needs. How had he been so catastrophically blind? The reception filled the mansion's ballroom with music and laughter. Julian nursed a bourbon at the bar, watching Simone navigate the room. She moved with easy confidence, hugging guests, laughing with the bride, managing small crises with subtle efficiency. An elderly woman's shawl slipped, Simone caught it. A child bumped a champagne tower, she steadied it without breaking stride. Professional grace. That's what she had. She owns Chambers events, David said, appearing beside him. Planned weddings for 3 Fortune 500 CEOs last year. Maya wanted her to do this one, but Simone refused to work her own sister's wedding. He grinned. Though I think she's been managing things anyway. A business owner. Of course she was. Julian's phone buzzed. Singapore office, 3rd time today. He silenced it. She agreed to dinner with you? David asked. Tomorrow. 7 o'clock. Don't screw it up. Maya will kill me if you hurt her sister. Julian watched Simone spin a flower girl on the dance floor, the child's delighted laughter carrying across the room. I've already screwed it up. Tomorrow's about damage control. Maybe it could be about more than that. She's only going because she's being polite. Then give her a reason to want a second date. The evening stretched long. Julian made appropriate conversation, posed for photos, and congratulated the happy couple. But he was hyper-aware of the clock ticking towards 7 the next evening, toward a dinner that felt more like a test he was destined to fail. Around 11, Simone stepped onto the garden terrace, alone for the first time all night. Julian followed before he could overthink it. Hiding? He asked. She turned, surprise flickering across her face before that composed mask returned. Taking a breath. You. Same. He kept his distance, leaning against the opposite railing. Your sister looks happy. She is. Simone's expression softened. David's good for her. He speaks highly of you. Says you're the best event planner in the Southeast. He's biased. Is he wrong? She met his eyes directly. No. Julian laughed despite himself. I appreciate the honesty. I figured you get enough people telling you what you want to hear. She tilted her head. Billionaires usually do. You've known many? Professionally. I don't make assumptions. The emphasis was light but pointed. He deserved that. About tomorrow. 7 o'clock. Don't be late, Mr. Whitmore. Julian, he said. Please. Something shifted in her expression, too quick to read. We'll see how dinner goes. She walked back inside, leaving him alone with the scent of wisteria and the uncomfortable realization that he wanted to impress her more than he'd wanted anything in years. Have you ever gotten a second chance to make a first impression? What did you do differently? Drop your story below. The restaurant was a mistake. Julian realized it the moment the host greeted him by name, the moment he saw the private table positioned in the windowed alcove overlooking Savannah's riverfront, the moment every head turned to watch Simone walk through the door in a navy dress that made her look like she belonged on a runway. Too much. This was all too much. Mr. Whitmore, Ms. Chambers. The host practically bowed. Your table is ready. Simone's expression was unreadable as they were led through the dining room. Julian caught whispers, his name, speculation about who she was. His jaw tightened. I should have asked what kind of restaurant you preferred, he said once they were seated. This is fine. But it wasn't fine. He could see it in the way she held herself, that extra layer of composure that meant she was managing a situation rather than enjoying it. The waiter appeared with champagne Julian hadn't ordered. Compliments of the house, Mr. Whitmore. We're honored to have you. We didn't order, Simone started. Thank you, Julian interrupted, trying to smooth over the moment. But we'd like to see the wine list first. The waiter looked confused but retreated. You come here often? Simone asked. Never, actually. I looked up the best restaurants in Savannah. And picked the most expensive one. I wanted to. He stopped. Yes. I'm realizing that was tone deaf. She almost smiled. Points for self-awareness. They ordered. The food was exceptional, but the interruptions were constant. The sommelier wanted to discuss Julian's wine cellar. The manager stopped by to introduce himself. A couple at a nearby table sent over dessert with their compliments. Does this always happen? Simone asked as the seventh interruption departed. In places like this, yes. It must be exhausting. He'd never thought of it that way. It's just part of, he caught himself. Actually, yes. It is. We could leave, she suggested. There's a food truck park near the waterfront. Best jerk chicken in Georgia. Julian hesitated. Leaving mid-meal seemed rude to the restaurant. But Simone's expression held a challenge, and he found himself wanting to pass whatever test this was. Let's go, he said. He paid quickly, probably too quickly, leaving a ridiculous tip, and they escaped into the warm night air. Simone laughed as they reached the street, a real laugh that transformed her face. That waiter looked devastated when you asked for the check. I'm a terrible person. You're learning. She started walking, confident in her heels. The food trucks are this way. They walked 3 blocks, the city alive around them with street musicians and late-night tourists. Simone stopped at a bright yellow truck with a line of locals. Trust me? She asked. Completely. They ordered jerk chicken with rice and plantains, ate sitting on a bench overlooking the river. Julian couldn't remember the last time he'd eaten food that didn't come on fine china. Better? Simone asked. Much. Though I think I've officially failed at the apology dinner concept. The night's not over. She wiped her fingers on a napkin. You've still got time to make it worse. That's comforting. She smiled, and something warm expanded in Julian's chest. This was better. Real. No interruptions, no performance, just two people eating excellent chicken and watching boats drift past on the water. Can I ask you something? He said. You can ask. Why did you really say yes to tonight? Simone was quiet for a moment. Honestly, part curiosity, part wanting to see if you'd actually show up, and part. She trailed off. Partly hoping you might surprise me. Am I surprising you? Ask me at the end of the night. What's the worst first date you've ever been on? Did you give them a second chance? Tell us in the comments. They walked for hours. Simone couldn't remember the last time she'd done this, just wandered through a city with someone, talking about everything and nothing. Julian had relaxed after they left the restaurant, his corporate polish giving way to something more genuine. So you bought your first company at 25? She asked. Small tech startup. I mortgaged everything I had. He smiled at the memory. My parents thought I was insane. Were you? Probably. But it worked. They'd reached Forsyth Park, the fountain illuminated against the dark sky. A few couples strolled the paths, but it was mostly quiet. What about you? Julian asked. When did you start your business? 6 years ago. I was working for someone else, watching them make terrible decisions and lose clients. Simone sat on a bench near the fountain. One day I just thought, I could do this better. And you did. And I did. She stretched her legs out. Though it wasn't easy. Getting people to take me seriously took time. Julian sat beside her, careful to leave space between them. Because you're young? Because I'm young and black and a woman in an industry where the big players are usually none of those things. She said it matter-of-factly, without bitterness. I had to be twice as good to get half the recognition. That's true, she finished. But I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm proud of what I've built. You should be. They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the fountain. Simone felt something shifting, her guard lowering incrementally. This version of Julian, thoughtful, listening more than talking, was dangerously appealing. I need to tell you something, he said suddenly. About yesterday. When I mistook you for staff. We've covered that. No, I mean, he ran a hand through his hair. I want you to understand it wasn't about you specifically. I make assumptions constantly. About everyone. I decide who people are in seconds based on where they're standing and what they're doing, and I don't even realize I'm doing it. That's not the defense you think it is. It's not a defense. It's an explanation. And an admission that I need to do better. He turned to face her. You were right last night. I'm surrounded by people telling me what I want to hear. It made me lazy. Intellectually lazy. Simone studied him. There was real discomfort in his expression, real awareness. So what are you going to do about it? I don't know yet. But I'm thinking about it. He met her eyes. You made me think about it. Something warm unfurled in her chest. Dangerous. She should end this evening now, thank him for dinner and the walk, go back to her life and let him return to his. Instead, she said, tell me something true. Something you don't usually share. He didn't hesitate. I'm lonely. The admission hung between them. You're a billionaire, she said carefully. You could have anyone. Having people around isn't the same as connection. He looked at the fountain. Most people want something from me. Business deals, investments, introductions. Even friends from before, there's always an agenda now. That sounds exhausting. It is. He smiled slightly. Though I realize complaining about billionaire problems isn't exactly sympathetic. No, she agreed. But loneliness is loneliness, regardless of your bank account. Their eyes met, and Simone felt the moment crystallize into something significant. She barely knew this man. Had every reason to keep her distance. But something in his honesty called to something in her. "Your turn," he said. "Tell me something true." "I'm scared of settling," she said. "Everyone keeps asking when I'm going to find someone, get married, have kids. But I watched my mother shrink herself to fit my father's expectations for 30 years. I won't do that." "What happened?" "He died 6 years ago. Massive heart attack." She swallowed. "And my mother finally started painting again. Something she'd given up when they got married because he thought it was impractical." "I'm sorry." "Me too." Simone looked at him. "So I don't settle. I'd rather be alone than be half of who I could be." "That's not settling," Julian said quietly. "That's knowing your worth." The fountain sparkled. The night air was sweet with jasmine. And Simone realized she didn't want this to end. "When did you realize you weren't willing to settle anymore? Share your moment of clarity below." Julian called on Tuesday. Simone was in her office, reviewing contracts for a fall wedding, when her phone buzzed with an unknown number. "This is Simone." "Hi. It's Julian Whitmore. From I remember." She smiled despite herself. "What can I do for you?" "Have dinner with me again. Somewhere without interruptions this time." She should say no. Saturday night had been wonderful, but it was also dangerous. Men like Julian didn't fit into lives like hers, no matter how genuine they seemed. "When?" she heard herself ask. "Tonight." Too eager. She liked that he was too eager. "Tomorrow," she countered. "And I pick the place." Deal. She chose a small Italian restaurant in her neighborhood, family-owned, where nobody would care about Julian's bank account. He arrived exactly on time, wearing jeans and a button-down instead of a suit. Trying, she realized. He was trying. Dinner was easy. They talked about books and travel, about her mother's new art show and his brother's upcoming wedding. The food was good, the wine better, and when Julian reached across the table to brush her hand, Simone didn't pull away. "Come to my place for the weekend," he said over dessert. "Excuse me. I have a house on the coast. About 40 minutes from here. Private beach, no neighbors, no interruptions." He looked almost nervous. "I want to spend real time with you. Not just a few hours between your work and mine." It was too fast. Too much. But Simone found herself wanting to say yes. "I need to think about it." "Of course." He signaled for the check. No pressure. They walked to her car, the summer air thick and warm. Simone unlocked her door, then turned back. "Julian." He was closer than she expected. Close enough that she could see the flecks of gray in his blue eyes, close enough to catch the faint scent of his cologne. "Yes." His voice was rough. She should step back. Create distance. Instead, she leaned in. The kiss was soft at first, tentative. Then his hand came up to cup her face, and she pressed closer, and it became something else entirely. Heat and want and a connection that made her forget they were standing in a parking lot. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Julian rested his forehead against hers. "So," he said. "The weekend." Simone laughed, breathless. "You're using the kiss to convince me? Is it working?" She kissed him again, longer this time, feeling him smile against her mouth. "Yes," she whispered. "I'll come to the coast." His answering smile was brilliant. "Friday evening?" Friday evening. She drove home in a daze, her lips still tingling, her heart racing. This was crazy. She barely knew him. But God, she wanted to know more. Her phone buzzed as she pulled into her condo parking lot. "Thank you for saying yes, Jay." She typed back, "Thank you for asking." Then, "And for being a good kisser." His response came immediately, "I've been wanting to do that since the wedding." "Why didn't you?" "Thought you might slap me." She laughed out loud. I still might. Worth the risk. Simone went to bed smiling, her mind already racing ahead to Friday, to a weekend alone with a man who was quickly becoming impossible to resist. What's the moment you knew you were falling? Drop a heart emoji if you believe in taking chances on love. Simone's mother called Thursday morning. Maya says you're seeing someone. Simone closed her eyes, silently cursing her sister. It's new, Ma. Very new. White. Yes. Her mother's silence spoke volumes. Diane Chambers had lived through integration, through decades of navigating white spaces, through a marriage to a black man who'd never fully appreciated her sacrifices. She had opinions about interracial relationships, most of them shaped by hard experience. Mama, say what you're thinking. I'm thinking you should be careful, baby. Men like that, wealthy white men, they don't always understand what it means to love a black woman in this world. I know. Do you? Because I see how you look when you talk about him. Like your father used to look at those business opportunities that always seemed too good to be true. The comparison stung. This is different. Maybe. Or maybe you're setting yourself up for heartbreak. Diane sighed. I just want you protected, Simone. Your heart, your future. Don't let some charming man make you forget who you are. After they hung up, Simone sat with her mother's words. They echoed concerns she'd been pushing aside all week. What did Julian really know about her world? About the constant calculations she made in white spaces, the code switching, the hyper-awareness? Friday evening came too quickly. Julian picked her up in a Range Rover, casual in khakis and a linen shirt. He kissed her hello, and for a moment, her doubts faded. The drive to his coastal house was beautiful, winding through marshland and live oaks. They talked easily about their week, about a difficult client Simone had managed, about Julian's virtual meeting with Tokyo investors. Then his phone rang. I need to take this, he said apologetically. Singapore office. The call lasted 20 minutes. Then another came. And another. By the time they reached his house, a stunning modern structure of glass and steel perched above a private beach, Julian had been on the phone for most of the drive. I'm so sorry, he said, finally ending the last call. There's a deal closing and... It's fine. But it wasn't, quite. The house was gorgeous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean, chef's kitchen, infinity pool blending into the horizon. It was also utterly impersonal, like a hotel, beautiful but empty of any real personality. Make yourself comfortable, Julian said. I just need to send a few emails. A few emails turned into an hour. Simone sat on the deck watching the sunset, trying not to feel like she'd made a mistake coming here. When Julian finally emerged, he looked stressed. I'm sorry. This deal is important. I understand. She did, professionally. But personally, it stung. They had dinner, takeout he'd had delivered, eaten on the deck. The food was good, the view spectacular, but something had shifted. Julian kept glancing at his phone. Simone kept thinking about her mother's warning. Tell me about your family, she said, trying to reconnect. My parents live in Connecticut. Dad's retired banking, Mom does charity boards. Pretty standard. He said it dismissively, like his childhood was boring rather than privileged. And your brother? Ethan's getting married in the fall. Big society wedding, the whole thing. He rolled his eyes. It'll be a circus. You don't like weddings? I don't like performance. Which is what society weddings are. Simone thought of Maya's wedding, of her whole family saving for months to make it perfect. Some people care about celebrating with their community. Sure. But Ethan's wedding isn't about community. It's about appearances. There was a disconnect here, a gap in understanding that made Simone uncomfortable. Community looks different for different people. I suppose. But he sounded unconvinced. His phone buzzed again. He silenced it without looking. You can answer, Simone said. No, I'm here with you. But he wasn't, Not really. Part of him was still on that call, still managing that deal. And Simone realized with sinking clarity that this was what dating Julian would mean, always competing with his empire, always second to his work. Just like her mother had always been second to her father's ambitions. Maybe this was a mistake, she said quietly. Julian's head snapped up. What? Coming here? Us? Maybe we're too different. We're not. You live in a different world, Julian. And I don't know if there's room in it for me. Have you ever realized you and someone you cared about wanted different things? How did you handle it? Share below. Julian felt the weekend slipping away like sand through his fingers. Don't say that, he said, reaching for her hand. Please. I know I've been distracted, but it's not just tonight. Simone pulled her hand back gently. It's everything. Your world, my world. They don't overlap, Julian. They could. Could they? She stood, pacing to the deck railing. You dismissed your brother's wedding like it was nothing. But for people like me, like my family, weddings are how we build legacy. How we show the world we matter. You don't understand that because you've never had to prove you belong anywhere. The words hit like a physical blow. That's not fair. Isn't it? You walk through life assuming doors will open. And they do. For me, every door is a negotiation. She turned to face him. Even this. Us. I'm constantly wondering if you actually see me, or if I'm just interesting because I'm different from your usual world. That's not. But Julian stopped, because wasn't there truth in that? Hadn't he been drawn to her partly because she was so utterly unlike anyone in his circles? You're right. Simone blinked, clearly expecting him to argue. You're right, he repeated. I don't understand your world. Not really. And I've been treating this like. He gestured around the house. Like I could just bring you into mine, and that would be enough. Julian. No, let me finish. I'm 48 hours into falling for you, and I'm already screwing it up. He stood, moving closer but not touching. But I want to understand. I want to learn. If you'll give me the chance. She studied him for a long moment. This isn't a charity project. I'm not here to teach you about race and class and all the things you've never had to think about. I know. Do you? Because that's exhausting, Julian. Always explaining, always being the example. His phone buzzed again. He picked it up and powered it off completely. I'm listening. Really listening. Tell me what you need. Simone's expression softened slightly. I need you to be present. Not halfway here while your mind is in Singapore or Tokyo or wherever the next deal is. Okay. And I need you to understand that dating you isn't simple for me. People will have opinions. My mother already does. My community will wonder what I'm doing with a white billionaire, if I think I'm too good for black men now. Julian hadn't considered that. And my circles will. He stopped, shame flooding through him. They'll probably say things I don't even want to imagine. Exactly. So if we do this, if we actually try, we're both walking into a storm. Is it worth it? He asked quietly. The storm. Simone was quiet for so long he thought she might say no. Then, I don't know yet. They stood in the darkness, the ocean crashing below, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down. Stay the weekend, Julian said. Not for romance, just stay. Let me show you I can be present. That I can listen and learn. Julian, please. One weekend. If you still want to walk away after, I'll understand. She hesitated, and he could see the war in her expression. Finally, she nodded. One weekend. But you have to be honest with me. Really honest. About what? About why you want this. Because if it's guilt, or novelty, or some midlife crisis thing. It's not. He took a risk, stepping closer. You terrify me, Simone. You're brilliant and successful and you don't need anything from me. You see through all my bullshit. And when you laugh, really laugh, I feel like I'm finally doing something right with my life." Her breath caught. "That's too much. Too soon. Probably. But you asked for honesty." A small smile played at her lips. "It's definitely too soon. But I like that you said it anyway." She touched his face briefly. "I'm scared too, you know. Of wanting this. Of wanting you." They stood close but not touching, the air between them electric with possibility and fear. "Let's make a deal," Julian said. "This weekend, we're just two people. No phones, no outside world. Just us, figuring out if this could actually work. And Monday we face reality. Together or apart, but at least we'll know." Simone nodded slowly. "Okay. This weekend, just us." Julian exhaled relief. He hadn't lost her yet. But he could feel the precipice they were standing on, could sense how easily this could all fall apart. Later, lying in separate bedrooms, her insistence, his agreement, he stared at the ceiling and wondered if he was capable of being what she needed. If his world and hers could ever really merge. And if they couldn't, whether he was strong enough to let her go. Have you ever had to choose between love and the easier path? What did you choose? Tell us in the comments. Saturday morning, Simone woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of the ocean. She found Julian on the deck, 2 mugs waiting, his phone nowhere in sight. He smiled when he saw her, and something in her chest loosened. "Good morning." "Morning." She took the offered coffee. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about what you said last night." They sat in comfortable silence, watching pelicans dive for fish. After a while, Julian spoke. "My ex-fiancé was black." Simone turned sharply. "What?" 3 years ago. Her name was Naomi. We were engaged for 6 months. He stared at his coffee. "I thought I understood what dating her meant. The stares, the comments. I thought I was handling it well. What happened?" "We went to my parents' anniversary party. Big event, all their friends from the country club. And I watched my mother introduce Naomi to people as Julian's friend. Not his fiancée. His friend." His jaw tightened. "I confronted her later. She said she was trying to make Naomi feel comfortable, not thrust into the spotlight. But really, she was ashamed." "Did you defend Naomi?" "Not well enough. Not publicly. I told myself I was picking my battles, that I'd deal with my mother privately." He looked at Simone. "Naomi left me 2 weeks later. Said she couldn't marry someone who would let his family diminish her to keep the peace." Simone's stomach twisted. She was right. "I know. I've had 3 years to realize how right she was." He set down his coffee. "I tell you this not as an excuse, but so you know, I've already failed at this once. I'm trying not to fail again." "What makes you think you won't?" "Honestly, I don't know if I won't. But I'm aware now in a way I wasn't then. And I'm willing to lose my family's approval before I lose you." The words hung heavy between them. "You don't mean that," Simone said. "I do. My mother already called me yesterday, before I turned off my phone. Maya mentioned you to someone, who mentioned it to someone else, and now my mother knows I'm dating someone new. She wanted to invite us to Connecticut." "What did you tell her?" "That if she wants to meet you, she treats you as my partner. Not my friend. Not some casual thing. And if she can't do that, we won't be coming." He met her eyes. "I won't make the same mistake twice." Simone felt tears prick her eyes. This was what she'd needed to hear, not empty promises, but evidence that he understood the stakes. "I'm still scared," she admitted. "Me too." They spent the day on the beach, talking about everything. Julian told her about growing up with money but emotionally distant parents, about building his first company to prove he was more than his trust fund. Simone shared stories about her father's controlling nature, about watching her mother lose herself, about her determination never to disappear into someone else's life. "I won't ask you to disappear," Julian said as they walked the waterline. "I want you exactly as you are, successful, independent, challenging me when I'm wrong." "I'll challenge you a lot." "Good. I need it." That evening, they cooked dinner together, or rather, Simone cooked while Julian provided unhelpful commentary and made her laugh. They ate on the deck as the sun set, and for the first time since arriving, Simone felt genuinely relaxed. "Can I ask you something?" Julian said over wine. "Always. What would it take for you to trust this? Really trust it?" Simone considered. "Time. Consistency. Seeing how you handle it when things get hard, when your world pushes back against us." "That's fair." He reached across the table, and this time she let him take her hand. "I can give you time and consistency. The hard moments, we'll face those together." She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. Later, standing on the deck under the stars, Julian kissed her with a tenderness that made her ache. This time when they pulled apart, neither of them retreated. "Stay with me tonight," he whispered. "Just to sleep. I just want to hold you." Simone knew she should say no, should maintain boundaries. But she was tired of protecting herself from something that might actually be real. "Okay," she said. They fell asleep tangled together, the ocean providing a soundtrack, and for the first time in years, Simone let herself hope that maybe, just maybe, this could work. When did you decide to take a leap of faith on someone? Share your leap of faith moment below. The photo appeared on Monday morning. Simone was at her office when her phone started buzzing with texts. First Maya, then Tasha, then her mother. She opened the link Maya sent with shaking hands. It was a society blog, the kind that tracked wealthy people's movements. The headline read, "Tech Billionaire Julian Whitmore's Mystery Woman." Below were photos of them at the Italian restaurant, walking to her car, kissing in the parking lot. Her stomach dropped. The comments were worse. Speculation about who she was, what she wanted from him, crude observations about her appearance. And then, buried in the thread, "Gold digger found her mark." Her phone rang. "Julian." "Simone, I'm so sorry. My PR team is handling it." "Your PR team?" Her voice came out sharper than intended. "This is my life, Julian. My business. My reputation. I know, I just meant. Do you know what my clients will think? What my community will say?" She paced her office, fury and fear warring inside her. "I've spent 6 years building credibility, and now I'm just some woman in a billionaire's orbit. That's not how anyone sees you. You don't know that. You don't live in my world." She heard the echo of their weekend conversation, the promises he'd made. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. Let me fix this." "How?" "You can't control gossip blogs and internet trolls. I can make a statement. Claim you publicly as my girlfriend. Make it clear this is serious." "No." The word came out fierce. "I don't need you to claim me like I'm some prize. I need..." Her voice broke. "I need to think. Simone, please." She hung up. Her mother called an hour later. "Baby, I'm seeing some things online." "I know, Ma. People are talking. Asking me questions." Diane's voice was tight. "Mrs. Patterson from church called. She said folks are wondering if you think you're better than." "I have to go." Simone ended the call, fighting tears. By afternoon, 3 clients had called. 1 to gossip, 2 expressing concern about publicity affecting their events. None canceled, but the message was clear: her relationship was becoming a distraction. Julian texted repeatedly. She ignored them all. That evening, Tasha appeared at her condo with wine. "Talk to me." "I can't do this," Simone said, finally letting the tears fall. I can't be with someone whose life consumes mine. I watched my mother disappear. I won't. This isn't the same. Isn't it? I'm already losing control of my own narrative. So take it back. You're Simone Chambers. You don't hide. But as Simone lay awake that night, Julian's calls going to voicemail, she wondered if loving him meant losing herself. And if she had the strength to walk away before she found out. Have you ever had to choose between love and protecting yourself? What did you do? Comment below. Julian stood outside Simone's office building for 2 hours before she finally emerged. You can't avoid me forever, he said. She stopped, exhaustion clear on her face. I'm not avoiding it. I'm protecting myself. From me. From everything that comes with you. She glanced around, probably checking for cameras. This was a mistake. Don't say that. Julian, look at what happened. One dinner photo and my entire life became entertainment. What happens when it gets worse? When your family gets involved, when the scrutiny intensifies. We handle it together. Easy for you to say. You're used to this. I'm not. She crossed her arms. And I won't apologize for protecting what I've built. He'd spent 3 sleepless nights preparing for this conversation. You're right. She blinked. What? You're absolutely right. I pushed you into my world without thinking about the cost to you. I made the same mistake I made with Naomi, assuming my intentions were enough. He stepped closer. But I'm not giving up on us. Not unless you tell me there's nothing here worth fighting for. That's not fair. I know. But I need to hear it from you. Tell me you don't feel what I feel, and I'll walk away. Simone's eyes glistened. Of course I feel it. That's what makes this so hard. Then let me do this right. No more assuming, no more dragging you into situations. We do this your way, at your pace. My way might mean keeping this private. Really private. Okay. It might mean standing up to your family in ways that make you uncomfortable. I will. I'll stand up to anyone for you. She searched his face. You say that now. 3 years ago, my mother introduced my fiancé as my friend, and I let it happen because I was a coward. I've regretted it every day since. His voice roughened. I won't be that man again. If my family can't respect you, they don't get access to me. Period. A tear slipped down Simone's cheek. You can't just cut off your family. I can if they make me choose. And I choose you. Julian. I'm in love with you. The words tumbled out, raw and honest. I know it's been less than a month. I know it's crazy. But I've never been more certain of anything. Simone covered her mouth, more tears falling. You don't have to say it back, he continued quickly. I just need you to know. This isn't casual for me. It's not a novelty or rebellion or whatever people think. It's you. The way you challenge me, the way you make me want to be better, the way you laugh when you forget to guard yourself. This is insane, she whispered. Completely. We barely know each other. I know you take your coffee black, you're fiercely protective of your family, you cry at movies but pretend not to, and you hum when you cook. He smiled softly. I want to learn everything else. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, my place. We talk about how this actually works. Relief flooded through him. Okay. At her condo, they sat on her couch, and Simone laid out terms. No more surprise publicity. You warn me before we go anywhere public. We tell our families together, not separately. And if your mother disrespects me, we leave. Immediately. Agreed. All of it. I'm serious, Julian. I won't tolerate being diminished. I know. And you won't be. I promise. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I'm scared. Me too. He kissed her hair. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. That's ridiculously romantic. Is it working? She tilted her face up, and he kissed her softly. When they broke apart, she whispered, I think I'm falling for you too. His heart soared. Yeah. God help me. They sat together as the evening darkened, planning their next steps, building something real from the chaos. And for the first time since the photos appeared, Julian felt hope. Have you ever fought for a relationship everyone doubted? Share your story below. The meeting with Julian's parents was scheduled for a Saturday in late summer. Simone dressed carefully, elegant but not trying too hard, professional but warm. Julian picked her up early, his own tension visible in the set of his shoulders. We can cancel, he said for the third time. No. We're doing this. She squeezed his hand. Together. The drive to his parents' Savannah estate took 30 minutes. The house was exactly what Simone expected. Old money, immaculate gardens, the kind of place that made you whisper. Patricia and Gregory Whitmore waited in the sitting room. Patricia's smile was polite, nothing more. Gregory stood to shake Simone's hand, his grip firm. So you're the event planner, Patricia said, once they were seated. Julian says you're very successful. I've been fortunate, Simone replied evenly. Must be difficult, building a business in such a competitive field. There was something under the words, a subtle dismissal. Simone felt Julian tense beside her. Mom, he said, warning in his voice. I'm simply making conversation. Patricia's smile didn't reach her eyes. I'm sure Simone understands that marrying into a family like ours comes with certain expectations. We're not engaged, Julian interrupted. But when we are, Simone won't be marrying into anything. We'll be building a life together. As equals. Patricia's expression tightened. Julian, don't be naive. There are realities. The reality is that I love her. And if you can't treat her with respect, we're leaving. The room went silent. Gregory cleared his throat. Patricia, perhaps. I'm simply trying to protect our son from making another mistake. Patricia turned to Simone. I'm sure you're lovely, dear, but Julian's world is complicated. The last girl couldn't handle it. I'd hate to see him hurt again. Simone felt fury rise but kept her voice calm. With respect, Mrs. Whitmore, Naomi left because Julian allowed you to disrespect her. That won't happen with me. Patricia's eyes widened. I'm not here seeking your approval, Simone continued. I'm here because Julian wanted us to meet. But let's be clear, I've built my success without your family's name or money. I don't need either. What I need is for Julian to be happy. And if you love your son, that should matter more than your country club friends' opinions. Julian's hand found hers under the table, squeezing tight. Well, Patricia said faintly. You certainly speak your mind. Always. Simone stood. Julian, I think we're done here. He stood immediately. Agreed. Wait, Gregory said. Please, sit. Patricia, apologize. I will not. You will, or you'll lose our son. Again. Gregory's voice was steel. He looked at Simone. I apologize for my wife's rudeness. You're right, if Julian's happy, that's what matters. Patricia looked furious but said nothing. They left 10 minutes later, Julian's hand shaking slightly as he opened her car door. I'm sorry, he said once they were driving. That was worse than I thought. You stood up for me. Of course I did. No, I mean really stood up. You were ready to walk out. She touched his face. That meant everything. He pulled over, turning to face her. I meant what I said. When we're engaged. Not if. Simone's breath caught. Julian. I know it's soon. But I also know I want forever with you. However long you need to be ready, I'll wait. She kissed him, pouring everything she couldn't yet say into the touch. When they broke apart, she whispered, Ask me again in a few months. His smile was brilliant. I will. Every day until you say yes. They drove to her place, ordered takeout, and spent the evening planning their future. Where they'd live, how they'd blend their lives, what boundaries they'd set with his family. And for the first time, Simone let herself believe this could really work. When did you know someone was your forever person? Drop a comment below. 3 months later, Simone stood in her office reviewing seating charts for a client's wedding when Julian appeared in the doorway. "You're supposed to be in Boston," she said, surprised. "Cancelled the meeting." He looked nervous, which was unusual. "I needed to be here." "Why? What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right, actually." He crossed to her desk. "Close your laptop." "Julian, I have a deadline. Please." Something in his voice made her comply. He took her hands, pulling her to standing. "I told you I'd ask you every day," he said. Her heart began racing. "Julian, I know it's only been 4 months. I know people will say it's too fast. But every single day with you has convinced me more." He pulled a small box from his pocket, dropping to one knee. "Simone Chambers, you make me better. You challenge me, you see through my nonsense, and you love me anyway. You've stood up to my family, navigated public scrutiny, and never once compromised who you are. I am so in love with you it actually hurts sometimes." Tears were already streaming down her face. "I'm not asking you to disappear into my life. I'm asking if I can be part of yours. As your partner, your equal, your biggest supporter." He opened the box, revealing a stunning sapphire surrounded by diamonds. "Will you marry me?" "Yes," she whispered. Then louder. "Yes." He slid the ring on her finger, standing to kiss her deeply. Simone laughed through tears, holding him tight. "I love you," she said. "I've been waiting to say it until I was sure, and I'm sure. I love you completely." "Say it again." "I love you, Julian Whitmore." They were still kissing when Simone's assistant knocked. "Sorry to interrupt, but your mother's calling. Says it's urgent." Simone grabbed her phone, suddenly worried. "Ma. Baby, I just wanted to say, I've been watching how that man treats you. How he shows up, how he defends you." Diane's voice was warm. "Your father never did that for me. But Julian does it for you. That's how I know he's good enough." "Ma, he just proposed." Diane squealed. "Tell him welcome to the family." 6 months later, they married at sunset on Julian's beach. Small ceremony, close friends and family. Maya stood as maid of honor. Even Patricia Whitmore managed a genuine smile. As they exchanged vows, Simone looked at the man who'd seen her, really seen her, from the moment she'd called him on his assumptions. Who'd chosen her over comfort, over expectations, over everything. "I love you," Julian whispered as they were pronounced married. "Forever," Simone whispered back. And she meant it. The end. Did this love story touch your heart? Share your thoughts below. And if you believe in second chances and fighting for love, drop a love in the comments. What moment in their journey resonated most with you?